Behind me is one of the boldest feats of engineering in the 1800s, a nearly 4-mile tunnel dug straight into a mountain intersecting the richest silver mines in American history, the Comstock Lode. And while the mines were exploding with fortune, the miners down below were dying from poisonous gases, from 130-degree heat, from the water that the mines were bringing up. And so one man had a bold proposition. Instead of fighting the mountain, why not drain it all? And so starting right here, he pushed a shaft 4 miles into this mountain. And it was successful, and he became very wealthy. But eventually, the boom faded, the tunnel was abandoned, and eventually forgotten. But today, it's undergoing a restoration, and we have permission to go inside the tunnel, learn the history, and what they're up to now. So to understand why this tunnel exists, you first have to understand the Comstock Lode, a discovery of ore started around 1859 that was the first great silver discovery in the United States. This was a strike that brought tens of thousands of people here to Nevada. It's a strike that produced hundreds of millions of dollars worth of silver and gold that was used to finance the Union in the Civil War and to build San Francisco. And the Comstock Lode wasn't a single mine. It was a collection of strikes and mines that were all connected underground. And the deeper that they got, the more issues they ran into. The rock became very hot. The water down there touched 130 degrees. Fires not just decimated one mine, but all of the mines. And so they had a real issue with drainage and with access and with safety. And in the 1860s, a man came to this area with an idea to solve all of those problems. And that man was Adolf Sutro, who incorporated the Sutro Tunnel Company in 1865 and was given permission by the US Congress to start a tunnel here in what would later be known as Sutro and dig it straight for almost 4 miles all the way to Virginia City, the booming town that popped up around the Comstock Lode. But the problem was, Sutro was a little bit ahead of his time. He couldn't get the financing. He banged his head against the wall trying to raise money for this tunnel that he thought would both be very useful and make him a lot of money. But eventually, in April of 1869, just up the road from here, Nevada had its most deadly mining accident, and one that could have been prevented with more ventilation and more escape routes. This is the Yellow Jacket mine, and today it's filled in with dirt and rocks, but on April 7th, 1869, this shaft went 3,000 feet down and 800 feet below where I'm standing, a fire started. And the story goes that a miner left a candle on a timber the night before, and when a new shift came down the shaft, it brought oxygen down and the fire just exploded. And it wasn't just the fire, the carbon monoxide that had built up, the poisonous gas, went everywhere. And this mine was connected to two other nearby mines, the Crown Point and the Kentucky mines. And the shafts, that were built to make men riches suddenly became toxic, filled with the deadly smoke. And 35 men died that day, at least. Some of them were burned, others were suffocated from the carbon monoxide. And to this day, some of them are still buried below. But this accident here at the Yellow Jacket exposed kind of the fatal flaw of the Comstock Lode, because all of these mines all around here, you see up on the hillside and everywhere else, were all connected underground in a maze of tunnels chasing veins. And there was no proper escape route. There was no ventilation system to clear out the poison gas or smoke. And so that design kind of made them all a death trap. And that's where Adolf Sutro comes in. You know, he had been banging his head against the ground trying to raise money, and the bank ring, the big mine owners, had fought him every step of the way. But after the fire, everything changed. You know, Sutro now had the ultimate tragic proof that he needed, and he got a lot of support from the miners' families, the unions, and you know, the tunnel wasn't just about drainage, it was about survival. It was an escape route. And the Yellow Jacket fire right here gave Sutro kind of the reason they needed to start his tunnel. And after this fire that happened here, he got a lot more support. After the Yellow Jacket, Sutro gets financing in 1869, and he immediately starts construction just out the window right here on his Sutro Tunnel, which was just the buzz of the town. And as they made their way back, about 9 years later, in 1878, they finally broke through, and they were pumping millions of gallons of water out of the mines every single day. And Sutro, being a good businessman, knew that this wasn't going to last long. The strike would eventually fade. And so he sold his interests very early on for almost $1 million in 1870s money. He would go on to use that money to buy up real estate all over San Francisco. He would eventually even become the mayor of San Francisco for a period of time. But back here at the Sutro Tunnel, the tunnel was almost obsolete by the time that they built it. They used it for a number of years. Eventually, because of World War II, the US government shut down non-essential mines, and so the Sutro Tunnel was shut down. And for many years, the Sutro Tunnel was forgotten, abandoned, just another remnant of the past deep out here in the desert. But recently, it's been undergoing a huge restoration and preservation. And today we're out here with the caretaker of the Sutro Tunnel and one of the board members of the Friends of Sutro, and we have permission to actually enter the construction site as they're restoring it. I am very excited, so we're going to go over there and meet some of them and learn more about the history.
So my name is Spencer Davidson. I am the caretaker here at the Sutro Tunnel. I've been here almost 3 years now. When I first came on site, they were just setting this first 50-foot of the tunnel extension, of the tunnel rebuild. Right now, Cyber Street Construction is here. They're actually on their last day of the 300-foot mark. They just did another 100-foot push here in the last month. So
we're about to see some not yet seen part of the tunnel?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We just added, I think they said they added 115 feet. So with the turtle, I believe we're at 315 feet, Spencer?
Yeah.
Is what I understood.
Wow. And so originally, how many mines did the Sutro Tunnel intersect? Is there any way of knowing? Or?
23, well, including, I think it was 24 mines, including the Savage. Once they intercepted the Savage mine, they hooked up with 23 other mines there in Virginia City. It's actually 3.88 miles all the way to the Savage mine from this point.
Yeah. So we're hoping to find some angel donors that just might love what this project represents and help out.
It's easy to forget how much work it takes just to keep history standing. And this tunnel is what that effort looks like. And I just love seeing it.
So this big chunk of steel right here, it's the footing for an instrument called the theodolite. But just above the tunnel there, you'll see a little marker. And that's how they were able to triangulate where they were underground. They put these markers on all the ridges, and then they were able to mount that onto there, and it spun. It would spin around 360 degrees, but once they locked in this site to here, they were able to flip it over 180 degrees and shoot back down the other side and set another marker. And that's what kept the tunnel in a perfectly straight line. And that's how they were able to triangulate where they were underground at all times. So there's actually 5 shafts. So air shaft, air shaft number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. Not sure why they numbered it that way, but you can see they only made it down 456 feet before they stopped and abandoned all that. So here's the years: 1869, 1870, 71, 72, and so
that's
forth.
really cool.
And so all these little black dots, you see how they're just little blips, 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 and all of a sudden you see the stretch. This is about when pneumatic tools came along and they were able to start punching through super fast. 370 feet, 365, let's see, 300 feet. So almost 400 feet in some of those months. Anyway, they passed up the vent shafts, and that's why those vent shafts were abandoned, because they made it to the Savage mine, and ventilation was no longer necessary because they had plenty of ventilation from the Savage, and then air shafts 1 and 2. So the town was just down below, the town of Sutro. It was a population of 800 people. It had parks and mercantiles. It had stores, residents. If you had some industrial shop or building that you needed to do, anything that was noisy got kept on the outskirts of town. And that kind of, it ruffled some feathers in Virginia City, saying that, Adolf Sutro said that this is going to be the next Virginia City. This is going to be the next town. And people were like, well, we love it up here. This is where we live. But he had different ideas, different plans, which obviously never came to fruition. But let's go check out the inside of the Sutro warehouse, which actually became the Sutro Saloon in the spring of 1964.
Cool.
When they first built the Sutro Saloon, it was more for the locals and the ranchers of Dayton. Later on, the college students from UNR found out about it. They all started coming out here because it was out in the middle of nowhere back then. You'd see a car every 5 to 6 hours driving down Highway 50 back then in the 1960s. Now it's just a major thoroughfare. There's tons of traffic out on Highway 50.
Yeah.
But back then, if you saw a car driving down Highway 50, 9 times out of 10, it was looking for the Sutro Saloon here. Later on, the Sutro Saloon invited all kinds of people. You ended up getting more of the riffraff, the druggies and things, and then the Sutro Saloon got shut down. Rumor has it they were serving miners, which I never understood, because the miners, they work hard all day. Oh, miners.
E-R-O-R, yeah.
So anyway, Sutro Saloon ended up shutting down. They used to have a little pond over here and some little hot tubs, and lots of history continued from the 1800s all the way up to present day.
All right, so that was the Sutro Tunnel. I think I have a big project on my hands, building a hotel in a ghost town. Imagine building a 4-mile tunnel to intersect a bunch of different mines. That is quite the feat that was pulled off here. And there's a little bit of daylight left, so what I'm gonna do is actually run over to Virginia City, the town that was built because of the Comstock Lode, and get an idea of what they're doing over there as far as an old mining town, to get some ideas for Cerro Gordo. But that was really cool understanding that, and now let's go learn a little bit more about Comstock and Virginia City. On this road trip this winter, I have been going everywhere, from abandoned places in the middle of the desert to tourist traps to tunnels and everything in between. And something that I've been using for the entire time has been Onyx Off-Road. This is a navigation app that does all sorts of things. You can map out your route ahead of time and download it, so you don't have to worry about if you're gonna have service or not. If you're worried if you are gonna have service, they have service coverage maps depending on the carrier built within this. If you hunt around where you are, you can find these cool trails around you, and the trails are gonna have recent trail reports, they're gonna have the difficulty of it, they're gonna have recent photos, and just kind of that intel you need when you're in the back country. It does all sorts of things, and if you wanna give it a shot, they're giving away 20% off your first year membership, all you have to do is use the code Brent at checkout or click the link that I have down in the description. Again, this is Onyx Off-Road. It's an amazing app. If you spend any time in the backcountry or off-roading, you gotta have this. Check it out. So this is a very cool piece of Comstock Lode history. This is the combination shaft. And just below that grate was a shaft that went 3,250 feet deep, trying to intersect some of the deepest portions of the Comstock Lode. And this was sunk in 1875 as kind of a joint venture between some neighboring mines that wanted to see how good the ore is down deep. So they sank this thing, spent millions and millions of dollars on it, and it ran into a lot of issues. The first issue is way down there, there's all sorts of water, especially when you're over 3,000 feet deep. And so they were having to pump up 5 million gallons of water every day. And combined with the fact that the water deep down there, so when you get really deep down this thing, the water down there is about 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And so eventually, because of the amount of water, the low grade ore that they got, and the heat, they gave it up. And they turned off the pumps. And in the first 36 hours, 800 feet of that shaft filled back up with water. And in total there was 5 fatalities that I could find that happened in that shaft. But that just shows kind of the frenzied era that they were sinking this to hopefully find a bit of the Comstock Lode that nobody else had. And in the end, they just lost a lot of money on it. But from this side of the small valley, you can get a really good view into Virginia City and kind of the area that the Comstock Lode built. And if you look around, you still see little mining operations with the tailings and some old mill houses all over the place. This is a really cool area, and you don't have to look that close to still see the mining history combined in with the tourist element. And for many of these towns, the tourist element is the final act, where they hang on to the ideas and the legends and the lore, like Mark Twain, of what built the city, and try to give it one more go. So this is Virginia City, the result of the big Comstock Lode. A town that was set up around 1859 and boomed all the way to over 25,000 people by the mid-1870s. It was not just the center of Comstock Lode, it was the center of finance and engineering and things like that. It really caught its stride by the mid to late 1870s, when the Bonanza Kings got here, the Silver Kings, guys like John Mackey, James Flair, James Flood, William O'Brien, all of these Irish investors that came here and really made this into a big town. And like lots of mining towns, there was fires along the way, like a major one in 1875 that left 2,000 people homeless. The population, you know, was from all over the place. A lot of people from England, and this street would have been buzzing with activity. You know, people gambling on what's going to be the next big strike, pulling out hundreds of millions of dollars worth of silver and gold and refining it in mills all around here that are still active, that still you can go take a tour of. And eventually, by the 1870s, late 1870s, it started to decline like lots of mining towns, and as it slowly dwindled, by the mid-1900s, there was only a couple hundred people still living up here, down from 25,000. And in 1950s is when they really started thinking about kind of restoration and tourism. And that's when TV show Bonanza really brought a big interest here. They started digging into the tourist aspect of it. And for me, somebody who has an old mining town, I'm always interested in going places like this to see what I can learn, see what they're doing good, see what they're doing bad. As you can see over there, the Mark Twain Saloon. This place was very popular because this is where Mark Twain began his career, when he was still known as Samuel Clemens. And he was a newspaper reporter here, and this is where he first adopted that pen name, Mark Twain. And so in the resulting years, they've really leaned into the Mark Twain element of it all. And I'm here in kind of the off season where it's the winter, so not everything is open, but I'm here just to browse, explore, learn the connections of the Sutro Tunnel, the Comstock Lode, check out some of the mills that they have here, some of the tours they have available, and see what I can learn and bring back to Cerro Gordo. Hello.
Aren't you that guy on the show, on the TV show?
That's me, yeah.
Do you have a car? My husband's the sheriff.
Oh, cool.
He watches you all the time.
Oh, that's amazing.
He's obsessed.
Yeah.
I just tried to call him, but he's in a...
What I love most about this trip isn't just the towns themselves, it's the people. Because in places like Virginia City, history doesn't survive on its own. It takes effort, it takes obsession, really. And I wandered down to the Donovan Mill, a place that once processed thousands of tons of ore from Comstock, turning raw rock into unimaginable wealth. But today it's quiet, but not forgotten. There's a small group of people working to bring it back, not because they have to, but because they care. And standing there with them, it felt familiar. It reminded me a lot of the volunteers up at Cerro Gordo. It was a different town, but the same kind of people. People who see value where others see decay, who look at a collapsing structure and imagine what it used to be and what it could still be. And you start to realize that these towns may be scattered across the West, but they share the same DNA, the same rise, the same fall, and somehow the same kind of characters still today. Because the truth is, places like this are disappearing. The mills, the tunnels, the stories, they don't last forever. So people build museums, they piece together artifacts, they find ways to show what life once looked like. Sometimes it's detailed with carefully preserved exhibits. Other times it's a mine tour running out of the back of a bar. Not perfect, not polished, but people show up and they care. And walking through all this, I just kept thinking the same thing, is what can I take back from here and bring to Cerro Gordo? Because keeping history alive isn't just about preserving what's left, it's about finding new ways to make people feel it. All right, so that was Virginia City and the Sutro Tunnel. And Virginia City is cool. It kind of gives you that feel of how this place must have been when it was buzzing, when it was booming, because of all these overhangs, and this main drag here still feels very much like the center of a town. And every other building is a saloon, so it gives you an idea of how rowdy it must get on the summer months here, but also how rowdy it must have gotten back in the 1800s. And there's a lot of things to learn here, little bits and bops to take back to Cerro Gordo. And so I'm glad that I came. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. As always, I have a lot more of them to come as I check out other old mining towns around the country. But this was Nevada, Virginia City, and the Sutro Tunnel. So thank you guys for checking out the video, and I'll see you guys next time.